Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Health Guide on Global Television, your hub for topical discussions as regards health and wellness. I am Queen Agaba, and today I'm joined by a remarkable individual who has bravely shared her story, a struggle and triumph over drug addiction. As we explore the critical issue, we'll discuss the complexities of addiction, the importance of support and resources, and the ways in which we can work together to prevent drug addiction and support those affected. We will find out about my guest after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on Health Guide. My guest on the program is Faiza Ahmed, and her journey serves as a powerful reminder that recovery is possible and that with the right support and mindset, individuals can overcome even the most daunting challenges. Many thanks for joining me on the program, Faiza. It's such a pleasure to have you on Health Guide.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. We have been talking behind camera, and you shared so much with me, which I quite commend your bravery, your passion, your willingness to not just see that individuals stop drug abuse, but to also ensure that it's a thing of the past, and to see all-round wellness. Well done. But you shared your journey, which is quite touching. I want you to tell me about, your journey, and then how it started, your journey so far, and how you were able to overcome.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me on the program. And yes, I am an advocate of recovery is possible. Well, my journey started when I was in a very dark place in my life. I was very sad. I was angry. I was going through the trauma of my parents not being together. So I was looking for comfort, for relief, anywhere I could find relief. And drugs gave me that temporary relief. Unknowingly to me, I thought it was something that was always going to make me happy all the time. But apparently I was just walking into a trap or a prison, like I say, because it got to a point that the circle just kept on going over and over again. And I had to just, get myself together and be like, is this what my life is this all I have to offer? No, there has to be more. That was when I started working on my recovery part. And it's been an amazing journey so far. I'm integrating back into the society, and I've never been this happy. I'm filled with so much gratitude and joy. I can only be grateful to God.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to know. And I'm sure that you can tell the experience from, when you were into drugs and now that you are drug free.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful experience. So for anybody who is going through that cycle of drug addiction, they would want to know, I'm sure. But what were the challenges you faced in trying to get yourself out of there?
Well, I think the biggest challenge everybody faces is the withdrawal. The withdrawal can be very nasty and draining mentally and emotionally, especially when you don't have the right support to go through your recovery. It can be very draining, when you're trying to, the temptations to not go back to doing drugs, or you're tempted to want to do it again because your brain can't break out of the old way of thinking. So basically, recovery is a daily battle. It doesn't get easy. It gets easier over time, but in the beginning it's very difficult. But it's a battle you have to make up your mind to fight every day till you die, basically. Yeah.
So how did you find support? Was there any support in your journey through?
I found support in whatever I could see support in. If it was a child, if it was anything that made me feel a sense of goodness in me, I held on to it. And the bad criticism I got, I didn't take it as criticism. I more like saw it as lessons to be learned, like stepping stones. Instead of allowing it to hurt me, I allowed it to shape who I am. You understand? I saw it as it was things I needed to work on. Those were my imperfections. So I became my own support system. Basically, you are, in the long run, you can only rely on yourself. I only have myself to rely on. So I had to be my support system. I stopped looking for validation from other people. I started looking, because I realized that was what my problem was. I wanted other people to tell me I was good, instead of me seeing myself as good. So I decided to be the change I wanted to see in other people.
And that's, a strong force. Yeah, self-love, like you put it. Please go ahead.
The most problems that addicts have is self-love. That's why they self-destruct, because they feel they've lost hope. They feel the people close to them are showing them that they're just junkies. They don't have anything to offer, and it breaks them down. And they start acting the way other people expect them to act, like addicts. Meanwhile, they fail to understand that addiction is not really a moral, moral failure. No, it's a mental problem. It's a brain problem. And it's just that your brain is not wired the way other people's brain is wired. And that's why they say knowledge is power. You being aware of your issues, it's a chronic disease. Addiction is a chronic disease. So you being aware of it helps you fight it better.
So what are those other accompanying issues that happen when an individual is addicted to drugs?
It's emotionally draining. It's very frustrating. You have suicidal thoughts because you feel like this is all your life has to offer. At some point, all I wanted to do was drugs. All I did was drugs. I didn't even want to do school. I didn't want to look good. I loved looking good before I started doing drugs. But I didn't want to, I stopped doing things I loved doing. And I was becoming very depressed. And I was having suicidal thoughts. I wanted to end my life because I felt like one more difference will make a lot of difference. After all, I'm just easing everybody of their burden of having me in their lives. So, I felt like a burden to the people that loved me. I felt like I couldn't stop doing what hurt them, even though I didn't understand what they were trying to tell me, because they were not putting it the right way that I could understand. Everybody's perspective on life is different. So even though I grew up in that cultural setting, there were a lot of things that didn't sit well with my brain, and I didn't understand how to portray those feelings. You understand? You grow up in a house setting, you don't have a say. Whatever your parents do to you, they're right. And especially when you go into addiction, oh my God, you're useless, basically.
No,
that's the
quite sad.
idea they give you. You're useless, you're not aware of what's going on around you. Meanwhile, you're very much aware. It's just you go into a temporary state of awareness. Like, that's not you. It wears off when the drug wears off, but that doesn't mean you're mentally unstable. That stigma that people portray, that people that get high don't know what they're doing, is heartbreaking. There are other mental illnesses that makes people go psychotic. It's not just drug addiction. And addiction, you can be addicted to so many other things. Yes, the drug one is the most terrible one and is the most common one, because I feel like people that do drugs just need a place where people will hear them,
listen to them. But isn't there a place? Isn't that why we have rehabs? Would people not listen to them in rehabs and all of that?
People will listen to them in rehab quite all right, but I realized I went to rehab, and the problem I noticed from that is it's a profit-based organization. So they would not want to give you the full help so that you don't come back. They thrive on you coming back to the system. You understand? So they have to put some things in place that will make you come back. They don't explain things to you in detail that you would understand. They're just doing it for the money. And that was what pushed the initiative for me to work on my NGO, where it's going to be a safe space for people to come. You're heard. Like, place for second chances, for transformation, to help people integrate back into the society. That's the most important thing, to know that they're enough, to know they're loved. They're so much stronger than they can think. To be in active addiction, you need to be very strong. Honestly, it's a very draining thing mentally. You feel like the whole world is against you.
Yeah, I can only imagine the feeling.
Honestly.
And I'm super proud of you to have been able to overcome this challenge. But you know, when you're talking about the cultural setting, what do you think, that there are more people who are conservative, who are into drug, and it's not known because of the conservative culture?
You know, from the statistics that are shown from people that do drugs, a lot of married women in Hausaland do drugs. I feel it's just the way we grow up, yeah? They don't give us room to express ourselves truly. They don't give us room to be heard. They just want us to listen to them. They don't hear us, yeah? So I have a lot of friends that are going through the same thing. And it's more like their decision to go into drugs comes from their trauma. In every household, there's a trauma. It doesn't matter culture, I don't know. There's always a trauma that pushes someone to go into drugs. It doesn't matter what culture they're from. It doesn't really matter. But the difference with my culture is we're good at hiding it because we get to dress like this, and we're just good at hiding and faking to be nice because they never really truly allow us to express our feelings. So we've always had to fake it. So it gets easier over time. And so slowly people are dying inside. They don't know how to express themselves because they're scared. They're scared of being looked at as a bad person. They don't say, oh, stop getting high. No, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. That's what they portray. They don't say, Pfizer, this is a bad habit. No, you're a bad person. There's a difference. So if me speaking up means I'm going to be seen as a bad person, I'd rather keep it to myself. And that's what I did. I kept it to myself. I isolated myself from every one of my family members. I stayed away from them because I didn't feel accepted. And there are so many people like me. So many.
This is quite sad. In essence, it's important for people who are in that space to be able to speak up, and for family and friends as well as
definitely the stigma
guardians
is draining.
to be willing to accept them and help them find relief. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll wrap up the conversation. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the program. It's Health Guide here on Global Television, and we have been speaking with Pfizer Ahmed. Before the break, you've been walking us through, cultural norms and, how people hide under conservative culture to, get into these drugs because they are not able to express themselves. I think that this conversation would definitely have a series where we'll talk about this more extensively. But can we just talk about how some of the effective ways that you think that we can put a pause or prevent drug addiction, particularly among young people?
Awareness. Awareness. They say knowledge is power. Being aware of your situation helps a lot. You have ulcer and you know the kind of drugs to take when you have, the preventive measures to take when you have ulcer. Yes, awareness is very important. You need to be aware of your triggers. You need to be aware of your mental health. Very important. I realize mental health is very important in the sense that the days that I have issues with my mom or someone close to me, I cannot be productive. Honestly, because it puts such a strain on my brain. But awareness, mental health diagnosis, and peer group support, hearing a story of someone that survived the addiction,
just like you do,
just like me, yeah. It really helps. someone, I know I can say from experience that at a certain point in my addiction, if I had seen someone's story talking about how recovery is possible, I would have actually believed it was possible, because I truly believe this was what my life was going to be like for the rest of my life. So awareness, and then open spaces for people to be able to talk. The stigma need to reduce. You need to give people the chance to come up, like in places like mosque, churches, those society leaders. They need to be open to such conversations. You don't know who you can save in that kind of situation, you know. And what else? And then my NGO, the Phoenix Haven, you know, I think it's a perfect opportunity for people to work on their recovery. You know, at least them knowing that a non-profit organization is there for them, just purely for their recovery. That's what it has become my life purpose, basically, with me studying psychology. And I would really love to help people. I'm not going to be that kind of person just because I recovered, I'm going to turn away from my other people that are into it. I would want to also drag them into the light. And then spiritual guidance, very important. You need to hold on to God. Having God as a purpose is more than enough reason for you to fight through your recovery. The love of God, oh God, it's so beautiful. Yeah,
that's beautiful. I'm really very proud of you, you know,
Thank
for how
you.
far you've come. I admire your courage, the boldness at which you know, enlighten people, talk about these things. I think it all starts from there,
Yes.
where we can, you know, freely come out, talk about where we've been and, you know, how we came out, so that we can inspire other people who have been in that journey. Because of a truth, there are certain myths that it's impossible for you to come out of, you know, drug addiction. Some people have come to believe that myth, you know.
Yes.
I think it's a misconception. Are there other misconceptions that you think you'd want to highlight around this drug abuse and
basically,
drug
it's
addiction?
not just because someone is getting high, that doesn't mean the person is mentally unstable. That is the biggest myth that I would like to push out of the way. They are very aware of what's going on. Maybe they might be nonchalant, but they are very much aware. Psychosis is different from addiction. I need people to understand that.
Okay, because just understand what psychosis is and then what addiction is.
Yes, they say knowledge is, but people should read more before they jump into conclusions about things.
Okay, so what is psychosis and what is addiction?
Psychosis is you going insane. You're not in control of your mental health, your mental state. And addiction is a chronic disease that your brain needs a particular thing that is dependent on a drug, or not a drug, an act, to feel relief or to feel that shot of dopamine to their head. That dopamine, that's just it. And then it keeps going. You know, the brain is there's a difference between having an addictive brain and a non-addictive brain. Someone that doesn't have an addictive brain can do drugs on a recreational terms. Like, can just do it this time and say, I'm not going to do it again. He has that willpower. But someone that has an addictive brain, his brain would want to do it over and over again. And that's where the circle comes into play. You understand?
Thank you so much. Incidentally, this is how much we can take on the program, but it was definitely a pleasure having you come on here and share your experience and also talk to young people who may be having similar challenges. Well, we would definitely love to have Faiza Ahmed again in our series. Definitely join us, help us make better sense of drug addiction. Don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles showing on your screen. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app on Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I'm Queen Akaba, and from Faiza Ahmed we say have a beautiful day. Bye. See you again.